brother's an artist too. He actually took every art course they had at University of Wisconsin at Eau Claire, but I never did. But he and I could always draw and putz around. So when I saw this, when they asked me to do basic drawings, then in the factory they were getting jammed on painting and on sculpting, and I said, I think I can do that. And so it was just something that I always could do. I've always been artistic.
So everything starts here. Jerry basically sculpts them. Right now he's making a drinking fountain for a campground, Callahan Resort, up in Hayward. It'll sit on the ground and we'll have a little drinking fountain here. The kids will drink out of the mouth. Another sculpture we're doing is going to be a book fountain for a storybook plan. It's going to look like it's floating on a pool of water, and then water will cascade down over the books like this. But you can see this is our other sculptor, Corey. She's working on this one. She already put a skin of paint on it, and eventually, that just helps fill in the gaps, makes it nice and smooth. And she's plastering again, and she'll do some more carving, and then plaster again, and then paint it. When we get something really big, we like to do it in the summer because it happens a lot of it happens outside. But for the most part, we have 3 bays here, which this bay is strictly for sculpting. The middle bay we use both for paint and sculpting when we need to, and then we have a third paint bay over on the other side. So like I said, everything starts here with the sculpting, goes over to our glass shop, and then comes back here for painting. So it starts and ends right here.
So we spray up kind of a blob, urethane foam.
It's very similar to the great stuff foam that you can buy at Home Depot or Menards to fill holes in your house or insulate for insulation, but we just get a lot bigger cans.
And then start carving it out. Then plaster over it, and then I'll sand this good, maybe plaster a little more and sand it again, then paint it. It'll look like the actual product, but then it goes over there and they spray it with the wax, as he said. Then they spray fiberglass over that and make the mold. And then this gets thrown away. The plug gets thrown away in the process.
Jerry will work on something for 3-4 months, and then we'll just throw it away.
I got my teaching degree way back in 1972, and then I got into other work and just some basic artwork and doing a few drawings. And then the company, there was a company before us in the 70s and 80s up till 82 called Creative Display. And they saw some of my artwork in a local restaurant, and they asked me to do some artwork for them. And then I stayed there for 6 years. Then they sold the company to a guy from Florida, so I started my own company here. And so that's how that began. I sold about 8 years ago, so then I just do 20 hours a week now, artwork. That's my schedule. I like that. So it's just a urethane foam that you can carve, fish fillet knife, and it works like a charm to keep it sharp. So it really works nice. If you make a mistake, it's very forgiving because just spray a little more on and go from there. So it's not like chiseling it in stone. I don't have to be that careful. We did the Jolly Green Giant in Blue Earth, Minnesota, 45-footer, and that was to commemorate I-90 being nationwide. That was when they linked it coming from the west and the east, way back in '78. I didn't carve all of that. There was another artist that carved most of that. I helped him with the face and everything, but the head was about 6 feet high. So in here, we would just cut it down in sections. Since I only have a 12-foot ceiling, I go about 11 feet. We just did a 54-foot high baseball, kind of a stretched out baseball for a ballpark out in Phoenix. And that one we built laying down. It looked like a long missile in here. And we built it in sections and then sent it over as we built it. So we ended up with our 54 feet, but over in the other factory, they have that 54 feet, so they could finish it out over there. So I just build it in pieces, usually 10 or 12 feet at a time.
2 ways to do for this process to work. You can do a male molded piece or female molded piece, and for the most part, we stick with female molded product. A male molded product, you'd take something like this and you'd cover it with fiberglass, and then you do your shaping and finishing that way.
If we're going to fiberglass over something, do a one-on instead of taking casting. We carve it a little differently. If I was going to take fiberglass over this one, just do one item, I would carve these deeper, because when we spray the fiberglass on, that coating is thick enough where you lose some of the detail as you go over.
But what happens is you end up having this plug inside the mold. It's heavy and cumbersome. Plus, you can't get the detail you can get out of a female molding process because you'll have fiberglass strands showing through. It's kind of hard to get those, eliminate those completely. Doing a female molding process, what we'll do is we'll cover this with fiberglass, cut it apart, like you see out in the mold field here, and then we'll lay that mold out and we'll spray fiberglass on the inside, and then we pat it all down, and that way you get a lot of all the detail comes through. And then you basically bolt mold back together and fiberglass the seams together on the inside. So we actually go up inside the mold and fiberglass them together, crack it apart, and then then it's a lot of finish work at that point. Just like a lot like automotive body work, a lot of grinding, a lot of filling.
The Corvette body on the car has fiberglass body, and it's been a while since we've done one, but we have repaired fenders and things on Corvettes too, because it's the fiberglass repair portion of it. So it's not hard to do. It's messy work and a lot of grinding and sanding, but the final product looks good, so that's all that counts. If something gets knocked over in a windstorm, it might crack something, but it's easy to repair. It must have landed on his shoulders and hit something there and just put a little hairline crack.
Deke Slayton's from this area. Jerry built this guy 10 years ago and donated it to the museum, and now we've had it in a couple times for a little touch-up. Deke took flight once again.
At the museum downtown, they left this out one night and the wind came along. They forgot to take it in. They wheeled it outside for attention, so it got dinged up.
When did you make Deke? It was quite a while ago.
1999, 10 years ago.
10 years. He's 10 years old. So after the sculpting's done and it's ready to have a mold made, it comes into this shop, our glass room. You can see this frog, they're actually making a mold out of this frog. Underneath that, it's all foam right now. Basically cover it with fiberglass, spray it with fiberglass, and then they cut all these lines in it, and that's where they'll make the flanges. So they'll basically cut it apart, they'll cut it, they'll build a flange, and they'll put a bolt through it so that they can bolt it back together to line the holes up. Then they'll just crack the shell off it, and that's our mold. And then when they're ready to make a product, they'll take the mold. In addition to the other finishing area we showed you in the barn, we have 2 more big bays in here. So this is one of our bays, and this is where all our bigger stuff gets done. The barn is much smaller stuff. Chuck is making his third 10-foot cow this year. You can see, even though it comes out of the mold in pretty good shape, there's a lot of finish work yet to be done. They got to seam everything, and sometimes the molds have a piece missing, so they'll just reconstruct that entire piece. This cow happens to have one nostril broke out of the mold, so every time Chuck does one, he has to make a new nostril for this cow. But Chuck's very good at it. 2 more things another say over here. There's a pirate ship that's going out to Storybook Land in South Dakota. They're actually going to set it in a pond. It's normally in a water park, but they're going to set it in a pond and have gangplanks going across so the kids can go out and play on the pirate ship and then go out the other side. They got a big donation of somebody's child who had died, who loved pirates, donated the money to have this built so that other kids could enjoy the pirate ship. Once it's done in the finish shops here or from the barn, it goes to the paint bay. They paint it, and then we get it ready for shipping. This is Barb, primary painter. She's a great painter. I think all these are going to North Virginia. They've been updating and retheming their municipal aquatic centers. And so we've got this seahorse going up on a big pole, just going to sit on the pole, and a couple of mermaids. This mermaid with a rock bench. We have had a few people try and replicate our work, or they'll actually buy a piece and take a mold off it. So that happens occasionally, but not very often. We have a little black tag on all of our stuff gets tagged with a little aluminum tag. It's riveted right on. It says F.A.S.T Corporation, and there's our website on it. Paint bays over here, and we got 2 finishing bays. One of our Nora Green, she's been with the company for 72 years. This is a giraffe that's going to a children's hospital wing in Oconomowoc. Nora's adding knobby knees to it right now. They ordered a couple pieces from us before. Now they just ordered like 6. They're basically making this outdoor garden. It's outside the rooms of all the children. So they have all these big friendly animals out in this garden that the kids can see from their windows. And then it's actually a little a walking patio out there too, so they'll be able to walk around underneath them. Along with this friendly elephant here and the hippos. There's a black tag. That's basically what our product gets delivered on right here. We got flatbed trailers. You get a lot of looks going down the road. You know, these are all plugs for molds here. Or a 14-foot ice cream cone we did for Andy's frozen custard. After they make a mold of it, it really becomes scrap. You know, we're trying to figure out what we might do with this because it's good insulation. It's just that we got to figure out how we could either grind it up or cut it out. I'm actually thinking about slicing that one with a big string saw and insulating my garage with it. Once it comes back out of the glass room, you know, it's Jerry's months and months of work just sits out here waiting for disposal. This is a moose that goes on top of this VW bug over here. But yeah, this is Jerry's work. We had the mermaid already, and but they wanted it on a bench, and the tail didn't really fit with the way we had the model. So Jerry carved up this rock bench and just took the bottom half of the mermaid and then cut her tail off and made a new tail right into the rock. You know, the upper half already got glassed right in instead.